I remember when I was like, God, I want to say 14 years old, maybe 15, and a channel that I watched very frequently called Frankie on PC in 1080p uploaded his first video on a game called Subnautica. And it was a survival exploration horror game that was unlike anything I had seen at the time. I've always been able to appreciate games that were at least like creative with their concept, you know, even if it's not something traditional or even something that's necessarily for me as like a returning player. I can always appreciate something like, if you've ever heard of the game Flower. Such a unique and cool concept, you know? Yeah, I'll never not have respect for that game, right? And Subnautica quickly became like that for me. A big selling point of the game, out the gate, the devs were very upfront about this, was that you as the player are crashed in an alien planet, and you have no weapons better than a knife and some, you could call them weapons, but they're more like tools for building distance, like the stasis rifle. And while it was possible to kill fish and even some larger creatures if you were determined enough and willing to fuck around with the game's mechanics and physics enough, the artistic intention of the game was always for you to be effectively powerless against the creatures in the ocean that could rip you apart, right? You got no weapons to make. Your goal is to exist on this planet, not to destroy the ecosystem that you're existing in. Your consumption of resources is definitely a factor. They can't really get around that, but as far as just going out and killing sand sharks, you weren't really meant to do that. You weren't really meant to go out and kill the stalkers in the seaweed, right? Game was really unique and cool for this, though. You know, a lot of people respected the game for that it was different as far as survival games go, that it took power away from you and made you victim weight in the ocean, which is, if you've ever been in the ocean in real life, how you actually feel. And I think that's what Subnautica has above every other ocean game. That's why it's stuck so much, is that Subnautica makes you feel like how the real ocean makes you feel. Scared, in danger, powerless, defenseless. And maybe that wasn't the intention of the devs. Hard to say if it was, but that was the effect. And boy, did that effect hit for people. Now, I myself haven't beaten the story of Subnautica yet. I've gotten very far with the survival elements, and I've very much enjoyed it, and I love how beautiful the game is. I definitely want to beat it on stream, is my goal. So we'll probably end up playing Subnautica 1 before I play 2 on stream, but there's a lot of things on my plate right now when it comes to games. I got Hytale, AC4 resynced, all that good stuff, but still. Which is why it should surprise you that when Subnautica 2 came out a couple days ago in early access, and the Steam numbers hit record highs, massive sales, the game is considered the biggest of big games. Everyone's dick riding this game on Twitter, right? No, like, the narrative is, this is the greatest game of all time, fuck Crafton, we love this game, right? So I'm seeing all this unanimous praise, and then I go to bed, and I wake up the next morning, and everybody is shitting on Subnautica. And I'm like, what? Why does everybody hate Subnautica 2 all of a sudden? It was the last couple days of everybody loving this launch and the game having massive Steam player numbers, everyone posting the Steam player numbers all over the place. And I find out that somebody asked the devs, why can't we kill the fish and the creatures in Subnautica? Outside of, like, obviously catching fish to eat, right? And they answered, this is not a killing game. If you want a survival game like that, you should try out Sons of the Forest. And keyword on the fact that they were actually recommending Sons of the Forest because those dev teams are friendly with each other and have collabed before. They were literally saying, if you want a game that hits this vibe and is new and modern, that will, like, give you what you want with, like, a lot of killing and violence and whatnot, play Sons of the Forest if you haven't. You really should. But of course, people ran with this. There was a massive drama. Everyone's now saying that Subnautica is a liberal, leftist, woke game about suicidal empathy, not being able to defend yourself, which is what the left dreams of. Unironically, I've seen these takes. You will too in a moment. And, oh my god. Yeah, the gun and ball gamers are mad, bro. They are really, really mad. And it's not just the gun and ball gamers, it's also the conservative gamers who see the lack of gun or ball as a leftist virtue signal, I guess. Really hard to explain just how dumb these people are. We're gonna have to find out for ourselves by diving into the discourse. Thankfully, we've got a new video from Internet Versus talking about Internet versus Subnautica 2. Let's find out.
Online, there has been controversy with a recently released sequel to a popular game, with Subnautica 2's early access dropping on Steam, and pretty quickly some players were upset with certain aspects of the game along with the EULA. In gameplay, players noticed there was no way to fight or kill the fish in the game, despite the fact that the fish can fight or kill you. And the devs even responded, saying the game is meant.
Well, I will say this is false, considering that the fish in the game can be caught and cooked. You can turn them into cooked fish and eat them. That's definitely killing them. But as far as like killing the fish, I will clarify. There is a difference between Subnautica 2 and Subnautica 1 when it comes to killing. They're not identical. So don't jump too quickly to say everyone who's a little off-put by this change didn't play the first game. In the first game, you could kill anything. Almost anything. I think there were some mobs you literally couldn't kill because of story stuff. But literally you could kill Reaper Leviathans if you were dedicated enough. You could. Wasn't worth your time, but you could. You could run over fish and kill them with your sea moth or your Cyclops if you're not careful enough, and it would actually damage your vehicle when they hit. And it would leave behind a dead fish that you would want to collect, because that's a wasted dead fish otherwise, right? It's just going to float to the bottom and you'll never find it, and that's wasted food. And that's one less fish that's swimming around that you could get in the future for food. So it's like you want to make sure you're not hitting fish. So the game naturally encourages you to not do it, but it's still an option. Like, you can still use an impact to kill something. In Subnautica 2, I believe they have fully disabled health loss or like any kind of damage for creatures like the Reapers or any larger creatures that aren't like small fish. I might be wrong, but like apparently all damage is turned off. I haven't played 2 yet myself, but that is what I have been reading. And that is a pretty fundamental difference that does impact the gameplay. And just if people are upset about this, it doesn't necessarily mean they didn't play the first one, but make no mistake, a lot of the anger is from people who are mad that this game doesn't outright let you go murder mode in the ocean, like full-on Doom. And we're going to get into those comments too.
To represent a world with less guns, and people should learn to adapt rather than try to conquer and dominate. Additionally, parts of the EULA made the rounds, and that includes sections where you don't own the game but rather license it, along with them having legal claims over mods, stating that streaming and recording and content creation around the game would require disclaimers, and a bunch more, but some online said that this is just a standard protocol for Steam releases. But there's lots to get into.
It is a completely standard EULA. There are some extra things in there that are due to the Crafton company, which, listen, if you're not already aware of how evil the publisher of Subnautica 2 is and the lawsuits behind it and why actually buying and playing Subnautica 2 fucks over the publisher, I know that sounds weird, but it's true. There's a whole lot of legal cases that cause this and mandates of funding if the game sold a certain amount of copies, which it did. So yeah, Crafton is having to pay up to the Subnautica 2 devs. That's the, Crafton's the publisher, and they're the ones who put together the EULA. So yeah, like, everyone knows Crafton is bad, and if anybody who's acting surprised by that detail is very blatantly outing how much they have not followed this game up until this discourse started. Also, make no mistake, Subnautica was always woke. The original Subnautica was woke as fuck, no guns in that game. They were always trying to keep you from being violent in that game, even if it wasn't always successful. And make no mistake, don't forget, there was a massive drama back in 2016 that many have forgotten, where the original composer and sound designer for Subnautica 1 had posted a bunch of transphobic stuff on Twitter, and the devs fired him. And it was a massive conservative outrage. I honestly think a large part of why this is happening right now and why it's getting boosted so much is because conservatives are still mad at Subnautica for not failing after doing that. That was supposed to be Subnautica's big go woke, go broke moment, and they didn't go broke.
So let's just jump in. Welcome to the internet versus Subnautica 2. It starts when Pirate Nation tweets out, "The developers of Subnautica 2 want to keep the game non-violent like the first one. They want players to adapt and live with the ocean creatures instead of fighting or killing them with weapons." This core idea started years ago when studio founder Charlie Cleveland chose to leave guns out of the series after the Sandy Hook shooting. He wanted the game to feel like a peaceful exploration of nature rather than adding more violence to the world. Even though fans from one country overwhelmingly asked for the chance to craft weapons.
And keep in mind, by the way, like, you could always mod the game, and also, this game is known for being the kind of game that's almost therapeutic to play when you're, like, in the kind of headspace where you need this kind of game, you know? No people, just nature, just survival, just gathering materials and building. Like, sometimes that's the kind of game you want to play. Keep in mind, by the way, the same crowd complaining about this is the, if you want woke games, make your own games. That's the crowd getting mad about this. The people who said that.
In the sequel, the team says this will be a repeated point of resistance. One developer explained, "I think it's a point of resistance that we'll get repeatedly while making the game, though we feel strongly about it. So players must instead use smart tools, evasion, and distraction to survive." And Rappy replies, "What is this? This is supposed to be undersea simulation, not Europe simulation where you can't fight back. Deep winter."
I like that comment. That's the most viral comment that's come out of this, by the way. Random guy who's never played Subnautica before saying what the game is supposed to be, as if the devs don't know what the game is supposed to be. Keep in mind, we're dealing with the kind of people who skip through scenes when they're watching shows and then go to social media to complain about the show not making sense, alright? These are the kind of people we're dealing with here.
Says such a take, but totally on brand for a progressive. "The monsters can kill you, but you can't kill the monsters trying to eat you because that would be bad." And
that is what the left believes. Totally, bro. I love this idea that survival horror games that make you powerless are a leftist concept. That as a conservative, you need to be opposed to any game where you are not the predator. If you are the prey in a game, and that is the point of the game, like it's a horror game, then you are leftist, I guess. Guy who paid for his checkmark has an opinion, and of course it's stupid. Yeah, keep in mind, this guy's paying to make money off of his posts on Twitter.
"The monsters can kill you, but you can't kill the monsters trying to eat you because that would be bad." And Bally Belly says, "Animals simply existing in their natural habitat aren't monsters, you stupid." The player that crashed down into their world is the monster, and they have every right to defend themselves just like a bear or any wild animal when you encroach on their space. Annoy says, "Forcing players to adapt instead of just shooting everything makes you actually respect the ecosystem. You have to learn behaviors, find new creative solutions, work with the environment instead of dominating it." Josie quotes the post by saying, "Replies are full of gamers who don't understand that the entire series is about environmentalism. Lamau, media literacy at its finest."
The term tourist was genuinely a demonic phrase because it was so true that its popularization would inevitably lead to its overuse and, like, weaponization again, like, by tourists, you know? Have you ever noticed that it's the biggest tourists in any fandom that call people tourists nowadays? Like, the people who are calling left-wing gamers and left-wing game developers tourists are the people who are losing their mind that every game is not gun and ball. They're the people who never played Subnautica 1, because you can tell there are people here who never played Subnautica 1. These are the people who never played Subnautica 1, don't know why Subnautica 1 was so special, and why it has, you know, why Subnautica 2 ended up being such a big deal. Maybe they even just started with Subnautica 2 as their first game, found out what it's really like, and found out it's not like swim around the ocean killing fish all day, the video game, and now they're like, why is this game popular? This right here is an example of why gatekeeping is important. Subnautica was never the kind of game that was meant to go mainstream. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. It succeeded massively despite having none of the things that most popular games have. The only other person in real life that I had initially met who played Subnautica when I first found out about it was my uncle, who is like into water-related science. Like, that's his career path, right? So the idea of Subnautica and what it's about appeals to him massively. Like a playable documentary was how he described it. And so this game was always supposed to be niche. Like, it was supposed to be a game for people who appreciate nature, marine biologists, and those who can just like an alien planet. People who just are interested in alien planets, right? Like, if you're one of those people who likes speculative documentaries about what alien life on other planets might be like, you'll love Subnautica too. But that's a pretty niche audience. Once that goes mainstream, then you have to deal with people like this who are pissed that it's not made for them. They found out about it. They were like, why is this so popular? They gave it a try, and now they're mad it's not for them.
Amorphous quotes the post and says, add a plethora of aggressive creatures that notoriously spawn camp bases, provided no tools to deal with them. Top tier game design right there. Spooky says, people
didn't play the game. You can throw a flare. Like 99% of like things that attack you in the game will chase flares. Literally try anything in the game. Literally have two brain cells to rub together to have a creative thought, and you can solve these problems.
People who don't make games that sell millions of copies in a day sure love to give their game dev opinions. And Amorphous says, I don't have to be a chef to know when a part of the meal doesn't taste good. Grums tweets out, Subnautica 2 is a pacifist ideology woven into a game. Players have noticed you...
The problem is, these aren't people saying, this meal doesn't taste good. These people aren't chefs, and they say, this meal doesn't taste good, and it's because there's too much garlic in it. Meanwhile, the game has no garlic, or the meal has no garlic in it, because they're not a chef. They don't know what they're talking about. They don't, even if the food doesn't taste bad, they don't know why it tastes bad. They can't actually say what reason why.
You cannot defend yourself against attacking fish, not even in self-defense. Only passive means are available. This was by design. You can't kill anything because the devs feel it would support a gun violence and aspects of colonialism. Subnautica is one vote towards a world with less guns. A reminder that there is another way forward. We want people to feel like they're learning to adapt to the world rather than being a conqueror or a dominator. We aren't a killing game. Go play Sons of the Forest or something if you want to kill. The anti-violence stance got stronger from Subnautica 1 to 2, which now has a complete no-kill policy, even when the fish can still kill you. And Dimko's Kneebones replies, it's not that deep. Plenty of survival games don't have weapons. Play Outlast. All you get is a flashlight. You're just milking the algo on a trending topic.
No, we're genuinely in another era of everything new is woke now, right? But everything that is the same as this new thing from the past that everyone already likes, we can't criticize that. Right, so Outlast. Everybody loves Outlast. There'll never be a right-wing moral panic about Outlast unless a new Outlast game comes out and maybe a dev is trans, maybe a character in the game is a person of color, maybe there's kind of a girl bossy character in it or something. That's when they'll start complaining about Outlast as a series, but for now, while it's beloved, even though that game has every problem that they supposedly have with this one, they'll never, ever consider attacking it. These people are all about farming likes and engagement, and either making or getting on board bandwagons.
Evie quoted Scrums by saying, notice how Subnautica 2 actually released? Schmorgv says, no guns or balls and people lose their sheds. Over on our Subnautica Little Appointment posts this image with the caption, IGN posted their Subnautica 2 review. And it's this post of a game reviewer saying, for bad, there's too much water. And Rude Ice replies, that could genuinely be an IGN review. They get
I will say, yeah, that, like, I remember before this, like, nonsense started, all the right-wingers were making fun of the idea that IGN and other outlets would rate Subnautica low for having too much water. You know, like for a minute there, you had a couple days where the right-wingers were defending this game at the idea that games journalists were getting owned by its success, but how long that lasted, huh? You gotta love how quickly the right will switch up on something, though, right? They really have no principles.
Viewers that have seemingly never played any games in the genre before, or just hate video games in general. And Famifuyu says, their Alien Isolation review still haunts me. And Chicken Noodle Sleuth says 100% they had someone play who didn't know what they were doing. Then a mod was made and PC Gamer posts a clip of it with the caption, Subnautica 2 mod lets you kill all the fish you want. And it's this clip of a weapon and shooting the fish. And Magnolia quotes the post by saying, this genuinely turns my stomach. Like, what do you mean you're just killing?
This tweet was drafted in the CIA headquarters, and you cannot change my mind, by the way. Who cares? It's a mod. Let people. I don't care if people make mods that change the way the game is.
Them for the fun of it. The game has built-in mechanics to let you deter these things. You don't need to kill those animals when you have no real reason to. And Bad Redman says, nothing more annoying than a hammerhead deciding to make his new home right next to your base, hanging out next to the moon pool, constantly trying to mate with my tadpole. If I could kill it, problem would be solved. The Suited Bird quote tweets this post of an unrelated game.
Well, to be fair, you can just make it fuck off forever using flares.
With guns on an island. In the caption, what the Subnautica 2 devs think we are asking for when the community asks for the ability to actually defend yourself to some degree like the first game. Insomnia tweets out this meme of someone playing Subnautica and the caption, the highest rated EA launch in a long time, and then thinking, I need to find a way to be offended over this. The fish. I can't kill all the fish. And nobody is our guy quote tweets him saying, the more I dig into the Subnautica discourse, the more I'm realizing that the universe is just incompetently written. Yes, we know there are giant monsters who can rip through tungsten like paper, but you can't shoot it because there was a genocide 400 years ago, and guns bad. Hugh quote tweets.
Yep. The idea of corporations taking over and disarming people, absolutely unthinkable. No one would do that. That's bad writing.
The clip by saying, yay, now I can live out my internal white colonizer desires of genociding everything that mildly disturbs me. Yippee, yahoo. Pirate Nation.
No, that's another tweet that had to be like, hold on. We got like T-Girl arc in the this was absolutely drafted in the CIA headquarters. It had to be. It absolutely had to be. And then the CIA made sure it would get 100,000 views. Why? I swear to God, we're getting psyoped.
Colonizer desires of genociding everything that mildly disturbs me. Yippee, yahoo! Pirate Nation also tweets out, Subnautica 2's Steam EULA is getting huge backlash. On first launch, players must accept a detailed end-user license agreement, and players are worried after reading them. The agreement grants a license to play the game rather than transferring ownership. It includes restrictions on streaming, screenshots, recordings, and certain types of content creation or monetization, often requiring disclaimers. The publisher retains the right to revoke access for specified reasons. Terms may be updated unilaterally, with users expected to review changes. The agreement covers data collection practices involved.
One thing that's crazy is, I think this part of the drama is really manufactured, because I've not seen a single person, not even like a bot account looking person, complain about this, but all of these big like Pirate Nation, Rock Solid, all these grift accounts that just like rage bait post all day to make money, they're all saying that the EULA is getting backlash, and I'm like, I don't think it actually is, though. I'm not seeing any of the backlash, just these guys posting that it is. Like, they're trying to make that backlash happen in their comments.
Involving personal and device information. It addresses ownership of player-created content, modifications, and related materials. Additional clauses address liability limits, dispute resolution through arbitration in California, and prohibitions on certain software tools, VPN use, and other activities. The game has achieved a strong reception overall, with very positive Steam reviews and high concurrent player counts. Unknown Worlds Entertainment has noted that it is reviewing player feedback on the EULA. Some players have requested refunds after reading the EULA, while others just say the terms are normal with industry standards. And Asuka replies, the people who are saying, oh, that's just the standard now are idiots, and the reason why everything is so Maywin is.
Well, I mean, do you support Stop Killing Games? Because that is the standard EULA, and that is why Stop Killing Games is so important. Yeah, we're not defending the EULA, but it's not special. Are you playing any other games? Like, why is Subnautica special for having this EULA?
Says, if buying the game doesn't promise ownership, then piracy isn't stealing. And Jackson Richards replies, this will forever be the dumbest argument. And yet people who want to justify theft are quick to use it like some magic slogan.
Gay, CIA op tweet. No, piracy is based. Not that I'd ever do it. Not that I'd ever pirate.
And Maywin says, here, I'll dumb it down even farther for you. You can't steal something that's impossible to own. Bublik quote tweets the post by saying, do you understand what happened to Subnautica 2? A game that was genuinely loved, very positive reviews, record player counts. People were excited. Then they read the EULA. You don't own the game. You have a license that can be revoked anytime. They collect your personal data and device information. Streaming and recording require disclaimers. Mods you create inside the game, they have legal claims over. VPN use is banned. Disputes go to arbitration in California only. They can change any of these terms whenever they want without asking you. People started requesting refunds not because the game is bad, but because they finally read what they agreed to. The game industry has been doing this for years.
Notice how all the posts about this are all from these blue check marks that you can see. He's literally put the siren emoji in his post. This guy is a rage baiting, like, Twitter farmer for a living. This guy probably post tweets for a living.
Subnautica 2 is just the first time enough people paid attention. And KB replies, so just like every other digital download, you haven't owned a piece of media since discs went away and you rely on a server to give you the up-to-date information constantly. And Bublik says yes. And nobody fought back then either. Look where we are now. Then this screenshot of the developer started making the rounds and Akaba Rock posted on the piracy subreddit with the caption, Subnautica 2 dev responds to someone who pirated the game before release. And it's Anthony saying, it took some doing, but this guy self-reported. Thanks for pirating a game that I've spent years working on. I'm disappointed that you do that when it's kind of how we make our living. I hope you rethink your life choices. And the rogue hippie says, has a developer being anti-piracy stopped anyone ever? Might as well be talking to a wall. And Sean, please disable PvP, says,
I mean, I will say, like, you don't have to believe that piracy is an immoral action to think it's a shitty thing to do to go to a, like, game dev and be like, hey, I pirated your game. And if that game dev gets upset, I think that's absolutely fair. It's like, oh, cool. You're, just enjoying my work for free. Nice. All that, I put a lot of work into that, it'd be pretty cool if, I got, compensation for that, but okay. Like, I don't know. I think that's a completely fair standard to have. I am really curious what the internet versus comments section looks like. Like, whether or not this really is just a manufactured beef on Twitter, or if this is also spread to YouTube. Let's read the comments. I'll find a way to ravage and destroy the ecosystem without guns. I was still confused since I didn't know what they meant by removing the guns, since that was the core premise of the game, of the first game, so I had to check what the actual problem was. They took away the knife. The knife meant to be used to kill small fish to eat. The knife that takes around 5 minutes to kill a Reaper if you have a death wish, and the laser that freezes enemies so you can get away. They really removed everything that can be harmful. Quote unquote, the sea is peaceful. Dolphins are pretty evil. Give me my knife. I must stab a Leviathan to death. It's ironic given that working around it more or less means expand your base so large that it covers all of the areas you need to go, thus conquering a large portion of the ocean so you don't have to engage with the open ocean and its inhabitants. I mean, that's not how I do it, but okay. My brother in Christ, any human would make a simple spear. I swear people be treating this game like it's real life. Who cares if someone downloads a mod to kill virtual alien fish? You don't even need to make the weapons lethal. Make a cannon that can stun the aliens or something. You can't kill the fish, 'cause peace, while I'm gonna make an entire aquatic city for humans, Lamau. The biggest problem is that the alternative ways to deter predators only work for like 2 seconds max, and damage output is so low, it's more effective to heal through to try and deter on an inventory level. Another issue is how it was phrased a couple times. We didn't expect people to build in wolf dens. Players don't know what the dens are like the devs did, especially when the wolves show up later than when you build. That's fair. I actually think that comment's actually kind of fair. But overall, it seems like apparently the damage is not fully turned off in this game. It's just they removed the knife and the stasis gun, but you can still hurt things. So it's definitely a fair amount of misinfo that's getting spread around. It's wild to see how quickly the opinion on a game can switch up just overnight over something so simple, right? It goes to show, like, the gaming community is absolutely on the anti-woke side of things, right? Like, anything that sets off these people's sensibilities and triggers them, you're going to hear about it for the next week. These people will have meltdowns about it for a week. I mean, I hate to say it. I used to disagree with those that used to just, generalize like this, but gamers have become such massive crybabies. And if you're a gamer that doesn't, or that agrees with me, then you won't be upset by me saying that. If you don't agree, then, like, I don't know, man, you must not be paying attention, because gamers are such whiny crybabies now about everything. Anyway, though, Subnautica 2. I am excited to try it out. I hope that they're able to find a cool sort of medium, a middle ground that makes everybody happy within the actual player base. I hope they don't try to change the fundamentals of Subnautica just to make tourists happy, but, I hope they're able to figure something out. For now, though, I wish them luck.